The death of Biggie Smalls is shrouded in mystery and rumors, but it did help end the fight between the East Coast and West Coast scenes. But was that the plan? Was Biggie Smalls, who was only 24 years old, picked to die to stop gang violence? Or was the fact that he was killed when he was at the top of his game just an unfortunate act of payback that has since become part of rap music lore? And most importantly, was the real person who did it ever caught? Fingers have been pointed and claims have been made, just like at the end of Tupac's life. But today, we're going to find out the truth and find out who killed Biggie Smalls. 6 months after Tupac Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting, at 1 a.m. on March 9, 1997, Biggie Smalls and his friends, including Puff Daddy, were leaving a music awards party. P. Diddy and other acts who signed with the same record label got into different cars. But Biggie got in his own car with 2 other friends and his driver. Biggie's car followed Diddy's motorcade, but it got stuck at a stoplight, just like Tupac did in his last moments. But instead of being stopped at a red light in Las Vegas, Biggie was waiting on Fairfax Avenue in Los Angeles with the engine running when disaster hit. A black Chevy Impala drove up and shot at the rap star 4 times from the driver's side window. No one else was hurt in the shooting. Neither of his 2 friends nor the driver were hurt. Definitely not the shooter, who quickly got in his car and drove away. Given how bad LA traffic can be, that in itself is a crazy story. Eyewitnesses say that the shooter was a black man in a blue suit with a bow tie. This is not a typical outfit, so it's possible that the shooter was at the same music awards show as Biggie or was Carlton Banks. When P. Diddy heard the gunshots, he got out of his car and ran across the street to his friend's car. He then drove to a hospital. This wouldn't help though. Biggie was declared dead at 11:15 a.m., just a quarter of an hour after the rap legend pulled out of the parking lot a few feet away. This event that changed history happened in the blink of an eye, but it had been coming together for a while, so there were more possible suspects than in a game of Clue. After a failed robbery in the lobby of a record shop, the tension between Tupac and Biggie grew. Tupac was shot during the fight with the street thugs, but he said that P. Diddy was pulling the strings. This problem would be fixed when Puff Daddy himself went to see Tupac in the hospital and told him that he had nothing to do with it. But soon after, Biggie Smalls put out a new song that made the feud worse again. That's because the East Coast thought the line, "Who shot you?" was an admission of blame from the West Coast. Even though this song was made before Tupac went to the hospital, rumors were spreading. Another rumor that made things worse was that Tupac paid Biggie's ex-wife, Faith Evans, to sing on one of his tracks. It sounds like he wouldn't pay her unless she slept with him, but she says she's never been physical with the West Coast star. Tupac's diss songs proved otherwise, though. Then, when Tupac was killed in an unexplained murder, anyone with ties to Tupac had a good reason to get back at Biggie, since Biggie was often blamed for killing his rival. Suge Knight is the most likely person to have done this. He was close to Tupac and ran Death Row Records. He was even in the car with Tupac when he was killed by a drive-by. This means that he has a reason to get back at Biggie, either because he thinks Biggie was responsible for the attack or because he wanted to give the East Coast a hard time. But he had more than just a reason to do it and a chance to do it. Sergio Robledo, a former lieutenant with the LAPD, says that the LA Homicide Division was oddly not involved in this case. He went on record to say they were there that first night, but they were gone by the next morning and didn't come back to the case until an entire month had passed. In 30 years, I had never seen that. A murder case involving a major celebrity that wasn't taken over by robbery homicide right out of the gate. It would be too easy to brush this off as nothing more than a pile of cases and paperwork at the police department in a city with a lot of crime. But what really makes people wonder is how the LAPD and Suge Knight are connected. According to former LAPD detective Russell Poole, a case of his led to the discovery that some officers were on the Death Row Records payroll as security guards. You could take this as a sign that music label CEOs find the best men for protection jobs, or you could see it as a sign that corrupt Los Angeles cops colluded with Suge Knight to assassinate Biggie Smalls. When we think about Officer David Mack, that idea makes more sense. Not only was he at the party that night, but he also has the same black Impala that was used in the drive-by. Don't you mean circumstantial evidence? Well, think about this. Mac knew Amir Mohammed, who was said to be a hitman, from when they were in college together. In fact, Mohammed looks eerily like what witnesses said the shooter looked like. Officer Poole thought that this was a strong sign that Suge Knight planned the hit, but when he told his bosses about it, they told him, "We're not going that way." This was not the way to end an investigation without looking suspicious. Even a jail informant said that Suge Knight had admitted that his, quote, "people handled the business. They took care of him. We just missed Puffy." Now you should take snitches with a grain of salt, because they are often just people who want to get out of jail early. So remember that when you think about what came next. After the police case fell through, Biggie's mother filed a lawsuit for wrongful death, which started a second probe. P. Diddy's former bodyguard told investigators that a man was lurking outside near P. Diddy after the party before walking north towards the intersection where Biggie Smalls would be shot. And when he was shown a lineup of photographs to point out the suspect, who did he pick? None other than Amir Mohammed. The investigation also uncovered mistakes and oversights in the initial Stephen Katz-led police investigation. Katz's failure to forensically test his black Impala was perplexing given that David Mack was receiving payment from Suge Knight and was present at the crime scene. In addition to not interviewing Amir Mohammed, he also failed to provide over 200 pages of evidence from the murder investigation. Important testimony was included in the documentation, as was evidence linking another LAPD officer to the hit. Because of this insufficient evidence, the judge declared a mistrial in the wrongful death case. As a result, Biggie's family filed the lawsuit again, only to have it thrown out again. However, in 2011, the case was revived after the revelation of the FBI's file on Biggie, which included a smoking gun. Gecko 9mm armor-piercing bullets were used in Biggie's shooting. In case you weren't aware, only 2 businesses in the entire nation sold a special variety of bullet. Who, though, is justified in keeping such scarce ammo in their own residence? Officer David Mack, the same officer who has been seen in the company of the Black Impala and who has been linked by witnesses to the alleged hitman, Suge Knight. A classic case of being busted in the act. No one has ever been caught, though. The detective who suspected a cover-up, Russell Poole, died of a heart attack in 2015, taking his inside information with him to the grave. However, there are caveats to this otherwise sound idea. To begin, Suge Knight was incarcerated after he intentionally ran over and killed 2 individuals. While this certainly demonstrates his darker side and suggests he may be a horrible driver, it also raises the question of whether or not the same man who would deliberately cause harm to others could also be the brains behind a secret assassination plot involving a corrupt police agency. If you still don't think Suge Knight was involved, there's always the hypothesis that the FBI killed Biggie Smalls to end the rivalry between West Coast and East Coast rappers for good. Alternatively, Puff Daddy may have murdered Biggie because he was upset that Biggie had left Bad Boy Records, or he may have done it because he wanted to profit from Biggie's death. Breakups hurt, and we get it. It remains to be seen, however, if Suge Knight will come clean or if there are other possible explanations. There's a little question that you have thoughts on, so feel free to share them with the community below. Leave us a like if you want us to fight the algorithm and bring you more stories about mysteries that have yet to be solved. Also, forward this on to a friend who likes hip-hop. Click the subscribe button to watch our next video.